So turn it over to the 91 side. The 92 side obviously is for another day. And are you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Whoa. Yes, sir.
You pretend.
Mr. Richard.
Okay, yes.
Have you graded our tests?
Yeah. I have one person still taking them. Did I ever put them in?
No.
Or the quiz?
Oh, I'll put them in. They're really good. I was really happy. Really
I
good.
guess. You really missed
Yeah,
it.
you did well, I believe. I will for minimum put them in. Okay. Here we go.
Do you have a test this week?
You do not have a test. All right. So, here we go. Today, we'll do a different type of pattern. Arithmetic, I know that reads like arithmetic, but it's arithmetic, is a pattern like this. What's the pattern, or what's happening each time? Adding 3 each time, yeah?
Yes.
Geometric is more like this. Okay, it's multiplying by some constant number each time, so it's multiplication pattern. If you multiply over and over again by the same number, we can shorten that with exponents. So you'll see exponents also, in addition to multiplication, goes a little something like this. Okay? If I asked you for the 20th term in the sequence, we could, I guess they put a little formula up for it, but I don't worry about the formula right now. This is A1. A1 equals 2. You follow me? A2, I know it's 5, but let's talk about, never mind. This is an arithmetic problem, never mind. So you should be able to, will you just do this real quick, please? I forgot. This is the arithmetic problem. This is obviously, there's just a little review of arithmetic. You should be able to do that already. My bad. Do you agree the common difference is 3? Okay. Would you also agree that the 20th term would be like starting with 2 and adding 3? How many times when we add 3 to get to the 20th term? 19. That formula says 20 minus 1, but logic says that you would add 3 19 times, which means if you add 3 19 times, you're really adding a total of 57 to the starting point of 2. So what'd you get? 59? Okay. That's arithmetic. Are we good? Now let's talk geometric. There's the formula, but I don't want you to memorize it yet. I'd rather you understand where we're coming from. So check this out. A1 here is 1. Now you can see that this is geometric because they're not adding to get the next term. If you look at what's happening here, it's multiplying by something each time, yeah? What are you multiplying by? Negative 2. Does that check out? If you take negative 2 and multiply by negative 2, do you get positive 4? And if you multiply that by negative 2, you get negative 8. Okay, so it's all logical, right? Okay. So now let's talk about where the formula is coming from, or how you can do this without even being taught the formula. Just use your noggin. A1 obviously is what it is, but A2 came from starting with 1 and multiplying it by negative 2 once, yeah? That's A2. A3 came from starting with 1 and multiplying by negative 2 2 times. So A3 was 1 times negative 2 twice. The fourth term, I would start with 1, and how many times would I multiply by negative 2 by? 3 times, yeah? Now you can see then that there is a little bit of a connection. The fourth term comes from multiplying by negative 2 3 times. The second term comes from multiplying by -2. Oops. The third term comes from multiplying by -2 twice. The second term comes from multiplying by -2 once. So the 20th term, I'd start with 1, and how many times would I multiply by -2 to get to the 20th term? 19 terms. Now that's where your calculator comes in, because I don't know about you, but I don't know -2 to the 19th power. So must have to calculate and tell me what is -2 in parentheses to the 19th power. Are you sure you use parentheses? Although you should know it's just going to be negative or positive answer. Negative because it's a negative to an odd. So what do you get? -2 to an odd 19 is?
Negative 524,288.
524,288. Okay. Now,
That went real fast.
as I wrote in the note box, but in geometric, you start with the first term and you multiply by, there's no difference because it's not an addition subtraction. It's called R because it's a common ratio. R is the number you multiply by, and how many times you multiply is always one less than the term number. For example, the 20th term came from multiplying by -219. You with me? Okay? So if I asked, what is this example, is it in the right place?
Yes, sir.
Okay. If I asked for finding 3 geometric means between 4 and 64, think of it like this. I'm trying to establish a geometric pattern where the first term was 4, then I had 3 numbers before I got to the last number of 64. And we're supposed to fill in the blanks. You with me? Okay. Now, relate the two you're given. This is A1. You want to find A2, A3, A4, and you know A5, yeah? Now, wouldn't you say that A5 must have come from starting with A1 and multiplying by R how many times? 4 times. To get to the 5th term, you make 4 jumps. You follow me? Okay. Now 64 is the 5th term. 4 is the first term. And now I'm trying to figure out what I multiply by. How do you solve that for R? Divide by 4, that gets me 16 equals R to the 4th. Then what? 4th root. Now be careful, when it's an even root, you must say plus or minus. Write yourself a note. Any even root, use plus or minus. So this is actually, R is plus or minus the 4th root of 16, or R, or the thing you multiply by could have been either positive or negative 2. Now if that's the case, I could have multiplied by positive or negative 2. If R is positive 2, then what are the geometric means? 8, 16, 32, and keep going to check. 64 checks out. Do you agree?
Yeah.
But if R is negative 2, then it would be -8, back to positive 16, then to -32, and does that check out with a positive 64? It does. And so you actually have 2 sets of answers. 8, 16, 32, or -8, 16, -32 are the 2 sets of geometric means. You with me? Okay. Let's go on to 2 geometric means between 2 and a 4. Draw yourself a picture, 2 blank blank 1/4. If I'm going to get smaller, then what kind of thing am I going to multiply by? How do you get smaller? Not a negative power or a fraction, right? So you must be multiplying by a fraction, less than 1, yeah? Okay, so relate the 2. You have A1, you want A2, you want A3, you know A4. So what's the equation relating A1 and A4? I agree. I'm going to start here. A4 is A1 times R how many times?
Q,
3 times. To get from 1 to far, you make 3 jumps. That's why the exponent is 3. Cool? Plugging in 1/4 is 2 times R 3 times. When I move the 2 over, what do I get there? 2 over 4 or 1 over 8? 1 over 8. 1 over 8 is R cubed. When I cube root, do I have to plus or minus, or is that just when you have an even root? Only when you have an even root, so there's no plus or minus here. R is 1/2. Now with that said, then what are the 2 geometric means? You tell me? I don't think so. I don't think so. Okay, so if you multiply by half each time, then your first geometric mean is 2 times a half, or 1. Take half of that to get the next one. And then check to make sure you're doing this right. You get a 4th like you should. Everything's worth. Yeah. There's kind of a built-in check in there. You shouldn't miss these. Okay. Find the 3 geometric means. Do you guys have a... Yes, okay. One more. Find the 3 geometric means between -16 and -1. Alrighty now. What's the relationship between the given? What am I given? A1, A5, A billion?
A5.
A5. This is A1, A2, A3, A4, A5. A5 is A1 times what? R to the 4th. A5 is -1. A1 is -16. R to the 4th. What do I do to get R? Divide by -16, giving me a positive 1/16. How do you get R from R to 4th? 4th root. If it's a 4th root, if it's an even root, then do you have a plus or minus? Yes. It is plus or minus, and what is the 4th root of 1/16? 1/2. So based on that, you're going to have 2 cases. If R is 1/2, then the fill in the blanks are what? 8, -8, -4, -2, and -1 checks. Do you agree? If R is -1/2, then the 3 fill in the blanks are +8, -4, normal 2, and -1 check. Making sense? You with me? Okay. Try these then on your own. I don't know what this step is. Try not these. This one. Try this, and when you're done, bring it up, and I will check to see either yes, you get it, or no, back to the drawing board. Use a calculator. I definitely do not know this. Make sure you put this in. Putting faith in you. I hope you're right.
That's what I got.
Thank you, sir. Perfect. Make sure you put parentheses around any negative to a power, otherwise it will be, even if you know what you mean, I will mark off. And then, thank you. Wonderful. Thank you. Hello. Thank you. You lifeguard there? Just Fair Beach Swim Club?
Yeah.
Okay. I'll have to make sure I didn't drown her. Are you big enough to pull somebody out, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Right on, brother. How's your sister? Did you see her for Christmas, I see? I see her all the time, huh?
Yeah, she gives Red Rocks.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Oh, what did it say?
Negative 39,360.
There you go, Chip. All right.
And then also, I know that you don't like us going to the restroom tonight.
You guys are the worst. Oh, God, here, I got it. Thank you. Thank you. Hello, over to Christmas sweaters. Mouse rat, what does that mean?
That's from Parks and Rec.
Really? I love that show, but I've never seen that one. Thank you. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Sure. Thank you. Hi. Hey, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. You play basketball?
Used to.
Oh, okay. Okay, I would love to see you all quiet and play some sports. That'd be cool. Hi. How you doing? How's your sister? Did you see your sister?
Yeah, she came home, or and then we all went to Nashville. So.
Oh, good. That's cool. Howdy. This makes sense? Okay, cool. Howdy. Okay. Seems like last year they recommended you try 7, 8, and 9 first. So you may give those a go, though I have no idea what they're about.
It's Ryckman. How was your break?
Oh, it's awesome. I saw my baby.
Is that to break the sense?
Oh, thank you. How's your break?
It was good.
All right.
I've been working out.
This will probably have bookends, but not the bottom.
Probably should have written out.
That's some of it. Let me see if I have. That'll get you started. I'll see if I have the other part of 90 or other good parts of 95.
Make sure that that's like, this is the native state. Okay.
They talk all the time.
For what? Grade,
Oh, okay. Okay. You're welcome. All right.
They're like living a little shed.
That notebook.
Oh, yeah. Not a clue.
Lord.
Okay.
Gigi, last night I was digging through my on my desk and I found the quill you gave me in 6th grade.
What?
It's so funny.
Allie, I didn't see where I put that stuff, so just grade what you can and give me the rest.
And 3 other questions. We would put it all in your math. And then the one that you makes that first. And then the one in the middle of the desk. Or whatever.
Yeah, girl.
Okay, yeah, I like a table, that's good. So let X represent how many of these started with, yeah? So what's the first thing that happens? He lost what?
He lost 1/8.
Lost 1/8. So now how many does he have left?
He has
Okay, X, 7/8 of X, yeah, 7/8 of however many he had, yeah? Okay, then what happened?
and after that he loses 5,000.
Okay, so now how many does he have? How many he
Uh,
had minus or take away 5,000?
so 7/8 x minus 5,000.
Right. I think doing that kind of process will keep it organized, so it's not just a bunch of scratch work to the person reading it. I like the idea of a table of order.
Half the rest are mislaid.
So if he lost half the rest, then he remains, then he has half the rest, right? So if he lost half of that, then he still has half of that. Yeah?
And that totals to 4,000.
Okay, so there you go. If that's 4,000, then that should get you.
4,500.
4,500 is what he has?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And I just solve for x.
Yep.
Oh my, good.
There you go. Good structure, good structure. Alright.
I kind of forget how to do math, Mr. Ryckman. I'm not even gonna lie.
It's my job to educate you for your whole life. You can't remember after 9 days. How are you going to remember this when you're 82?
I'm not.
I don't think I'm gonna care when I get into it. I think
I
I'm
will
gonna
put you down when you're on your deathbed and you're
But you're gonna be
82.
dead before I am.
Wait, live until 123.
I mean, kudos to you. Yeah, I.
25?
No, I feel like I'm gonna die
Shoot,
like
terrible.
like
That's
I
a
just
really
have this
terrible
feeling.
short life.
Okay.
I just want to live at large. I don't think I might die young. So it's like,
No, it's not okay. You don't feel that way.
it was 68, but then it's
I
about,
got
yeah.
that.
So it's like.
Like, I remember how to do it, Mr. Ryckman.
That's what I want to do. Even if it's a lot. So
I'm just, it says in that order.
Wait, what?
Seven of us. There's not another yes. I don't really understand why. It's just like,
Oh, it's because you used it. That's why. Joe used to say.
So, what's with the
no, I didn't.
Yeah, that's good.
Dude, I couldn't even. I was a lot of ways. I like
No, I will. Actually,
I got it.
Exactly. You're bad at telling stories. I stay it up every time. This thing happens. Yeah, they lost.
I was calculating. It was really nice.
Oh, did she tell you your shampoo story? The worst story I've ever. She said, I got this new shampoo to make my hair softer, and I tried it, and it didn't work.
Lighter, not soft.
The entire I wouldn't know.
I have a good one, and that's what I use, but then it started to like make my hair look so that was not.
hello.
Okay, you guys think, can you just tell me where that is from? I don't think so. No, it is like under, I can just. Are you? It's so it's like, but like, I've been a long thing.
That's why you want to sleep.
Stupid hair looks the same color.
I think you should listen to yourself. I'm sleeping so many
So like, I just don't like my hair is dark. I got washes on my face, and I think it makes my cheeks look bigger.
I was gonna do that anyways, even if I didn't.
So yeah, I'm like,
Yeah. Yeah, I know.
Okay, I don't know how to do 1, 2, 3.
I really want to do that. I feel like I could do it.
They're kind of easy to take out. They just take forever to put.
Putting it in. Yes. Strong taste.
What? How do you not look so good? Oh, well, that's
What's they? Oh, they began to increase expenses.
Not negative, it's a negative comes from negative, just 6, you travel 6 full.
No, it doesn't even, it says when the snow melted.
okay. I think you should.
Look at the. But it doesn't even say it's you, it just says was the snow melted into 18.
I'm not opposed to this. I mean, I have, this thing has already been on.
But that's assuming that everyone else is staying alive.
It's a guy who's fine.
No, stop.
No, it's not him. It's Merch.
Well,
When like,
us plague us, well, that's
like Taylor Swift Merch. Yeah. I'm doing 14. We'll keep you hit. When the snow melted, they began to increase. What is they? Spell it.
slowly,
I can't now.
I'm here to crush you.
Lava. There's like some creepy cat that you dropped out again.
For everything. And it was like, put his headphones, like, to it seemed like he was just a song, it's getting back to sound, and I was like, okay. I told him to go back.
Yeah, you came up here so you could work. We're not talking about No. Yeah.
That was a pretty good one. Unintentionally, pretty good. So,
Drop it in your line.
country and all that.
I'm like always it's such a this class is going to be very long. I feel like this day it's just like
Anybody try B yet?
I looked at it and then I gave up.
I didn't do well. I couldn't find another side. I can only find one side.
Like where did it go? I can't remember.
Maybe you guys, maybe together we can figure it out.
Yes. Wait, no, I know how you find it.
How do you find?
Since you have 90, you find the central angle, and then you use.
Is it central though?
No, so you do 38 plus 90 to find that.
Okay.
Find that, then you can find this.
That's what I
And then
did.
you can find this side.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. 6 is here.
Yeah.
And so then you can find another side by love sign. Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can get
Oh,
the angle
then
and
you
then
can find 80. Yeah.
and then you know that this
Wow, sitting in front of the room is already helping.
So you're like,
I'm not going to do it. I'm going to do it half the time.
oh, it's got time to go, y'all. This is you again. I didn't take a nap, but teaching this is.
you're telling me you didn't think over breaking
It's not the end of the world. It's just something that like I don't know that for sure. But like it's fine.
No, I haven't
I got the right answer.
You should text me like later.
What? It's a concept. I mean, that's all that matters. The answer got it. I forgot the cards, okay? They are. Look, I was doing some Cyber Monday shopping this morning and just broke my mind. No, not one. I even tried to find something. Now I'm